Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by RacerX, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by RacerX, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by RacerX.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast. We got a great guest for you today. Before we dive in, I want to tell you about RacerX's current promotion. At the time of this recording, if you're listening to us live, or in recent time at least, you can subscribe, renew at racerxonline.com/moto marketing. And man, this thing's been weirdly popular. You get a free pair of themed RacerX undies. I mean, whatever floats everybody's boat, I guess, but they are super comfortable. Ethica, I've never had Ethica underwear until these, and now I'm hooked. It's a I almost said $56,000 value. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. It's a $56 value. You get it just for $30. You get the RacerX themed underwear. You get 12 issues of the print RacerX magazine. You can also get all of those issues via their digital app as well. There's some really cool pieces that guys that you know and love, like Weege and Mathis and Davey Coombs and all of their contributors to the magazine, some really cool pieces that they've done. Ryan Villapoto's brand new old school vibe, 9-time AMA Motocross Supercross champ. Ryan Villapoto hit up RacerX at the Interam in Boise, Idaho, and picked up a serious vintage habit. They dive into that. Pure Michigan Adventure. Recently, Davey Coombs went out with 6-time Jeff Stanton and did one of his adventure tours, and Davey kind of recaps that. So some really cool stuff. Be sure to check it out. RacerXonline.com/moto marketing. All right, we've got another repeat guest for you today, but the reason I had him come on is because he's doing some new and exciting things, and it's been a really long time since we talked to our friend Dale Spangler. Dale is now with Buzz Media, which is his company. He has the Dirt Buzz podcast, which I was recently on, and he's got some really, really good guests. You talk about a tight ship. It makes me feel like I'm not running a very good show over here on the Moto Marketing Podcast. The way that Dale promotes and markets his podcast and unrolls his episodes is first class. So just wanted to have him come on and talk about what he's doing over at Buzz Media and the Dirt Buzz podcast. Dale, it's always good to talk with you. You're a marketing mind like myself, so it's always fun to dive into conversations with folks like you. Thanks for coming back on with us.
Well, thanks for having me back on. It was fun to recently have you on my show, and as you like to steal your term, deep dive into some marketing and talk about some stuff that we deal with every day. And it's fun. I love talking about this stuff. I could talk about it all day long. Yeah,
it is, man. I like marketing. I like business more than I like marketing. It's funny. I've gone through some transitions in my professional career. My first business was a video production business, and man, I was all in. I was like up on all the most recent video tech, and then I realized I like promoting the business more than I like actually creating content for customers. And now in the last 5 years, I've realized I like building the business more than I like marketing. So now I feel kind of bad in a way because I've got a team of people that all work for us that their job is to be the marketing experts. I know just enough to train our sales team so that they can explain to clients what we do and have an understanding of what we're doing. But man, I just love business. I love business. I love marketing. You know, I could talk about it all day, and I guess that's what this show's for. So at least we're not on the Pulp Show talking about marketing. I don't think Mathis would be too down with that. But we can dive deep on this show. So you started, it's Buzz Media, right? Or tell me the name again.
Buzz Media.
Buzz Media.
So Buzz
Walk
Media
us through
is so Buzz Media is my LLC that I actually started. I think it was 2016 is when I created the Buzz Media LLC as kind of the parent company, and then Dirt Buzz was my website. And so, through the years, Dirt Buzz kind of went up and down. I tried to make some things of it, but it's more of a fun, creative side project for me. At the time, I just felt like I didn't really have a creative outlet for writing and just fun content creation. And so that was sort of the birth of Dirt Buzz. And then over the years, with podcasting and everything just exploding, I'd been thinking about it for a few years, and then just decided to launch it this year. And January 3rd of this year is when the Dirt Buzz launched, and I think I'm now 30 episodes in. In fact, you were the 30th guest on the show, and so I've been trying to crank these out once a week, and so it just kind of worked out where it falls under the Buzz Media umbrella, the Dirt Buzz podcast. And so and my business, Buzz Media, I'm also doing freelance writing, content creation. So I've got 3 or 4 industry brands right now that I've been doing consistently, monthly blogs and other content creation for them. And so just trying to find my place, I guess, with Buzz Media, and the same thing with the the podcast. The podcast honestly was kind of like a personal project I always want to do. I felt like there's so many cool people out there, and in a way, it's kind of evolved into this peer-to-peer sort of podcast where I'm interviewing people that I've worked with through the years. I'm over 25 years in, and so it's just, to me, it's fun to learn more about all these people that are industry heavy lifters, I call them, people more behind the scenes that aren't necessarily in the limelight. And so it's been fun. I learn something new every time I have somebody on, and I feel like I'm just building these relationships and friendships. Like you're a perfect example. Like you mentioned it on my show, like we met because of this, but now we've kind of have this ongoing rapport.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting now, like, you and I we're almost following the exact same game plan, and we're both in the media and advertising marketing space. Our companies do 2 different things that kind of take care of the same client, but we offer different services. And we'll talk about what your company does here in a minute. But it's funny how we're both using podcasting as a platform to build relationships, tell the stories of others. But man, it's incredible what the podcast has done for my personal brand and my business. And I didn't sit down and have the conversation with Davey 3 years ago to do the show because I wanted free advertising. I did it because I wanted to meet really cool people in the sport that maybe I hadn't gotten to meet yet and build relationships. But as a byproduct, it has opened doors for my business that it otherwise wouldn't have. And it's funny, sitting here watching you do your thing now, you're following the same path, and you have the same intentions. It's not free advertising, this, that, and the other. It's I want to build relationships, and I think that's what's cool about our sport, because I've worked in other industries. It's not necessarily as buddy as it is in moto. Moto people want to work with other moto people. Healthcare and things like that, they could really care less. They'll work with an agency or a marketing company in Pittsburgh just as quick as they'll work with somebody in healthcare. Our sport, if you know somebody, you like somebody, and you trust somebody, those are the types of people you want to work with. Have you seen that benefit come from your podcast to where maybe somebody you knew of, but you really didn't have a really strong relationship with? The podcast kind of opened that door for the 2 of you to connect on a deeper level.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anything, it's kind of made me realize that I haven't necessarily marketed my own self, my personal brand very well through the years, because I've had numerous people that have said, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you wrote blogs, or I didn't know you did this, that, or the other. I've done so many different facets of marketing through the years, but I'm kind of falling into this content creation model that I've focused on. And so like my sweet spot, honestly, is, I like creating content from start to finish. Like I like to interview someone, write the story, actually publish it, even build it out on like on the admin side of things. I like to do it from start to finish. And so I'm doing that now for some of my clients, and it's just fun. Like I like creating content. It's, I was doing a lot of writing for a while, but the podcast is kind of making me realize that I kind of like talking a little more.
Yeah.
It's fun talking to other people. And so, yeah, it's definitely been one of those things that's helped me, gain recognition for the Buzz Media side, and I'm on the actual business side, because like you, I'm not making any money off of this podcast. I'm doing it because I want to give something back. And, in some ways I can leave this sort of behind as this evergreen content of all these, people within the industry. And so worst comes to worst, I've done something cool and give something back to the industry that's done a lot for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think we are man, I don't even know how many episodes we're in on this. I think it's, I could tell you really quick.
You're like 70 something, right?
80,
78 or something.
80. We just did episode 81 last week. Just aired. So, and it's, man, and I haven't gotten paid a dime from RacerX for it, and that wasn't ever the intention. It was, and man, we spent a lot of money on the set, and Josh works full time for us. This isn't his only responsibility, but he's the producer of this show. I mean, all this stuff costs money, the equipment, the lights, everything we have. So the reason I say that, and you're kind of bringing it up too, is because people listen to this, that some are industry professionals, some are young folks. I say it to use it as an example to look at what you're doing and what I'm doing, and it's not always if I got to get paid for everything that I do. I mean, I've invested tons of time, tons of money into this show, knowing that it's a long-term play. I don't believe I ever would have met you if it weren't for this show. And I think originally the reason we met was I think one of my sales team members had reached out to you to pitch our service and things like that. And wasn't a good fit at the time, but then you and I kind of hit it off, and I was like, hey, why don't you come on the show? And now we have that relationship, and now you have a new business that you have that there's an opportunity for you and I to collaborate. Some of my clients need your services. Some of your clients need mine. Long story short, that's what can happen when you have a passion project that connects back to your career or your business. Talk to us a little bit about Buzz Media and some of the things that you guys, or that you're doing for the folks that you work with.
Yeah, so really Buzz Media I launched that in September of last year, just going through the crazy year, crazy times. I'd lost my last corporate job that was at, Tucker Power Sports now. Before that, I was at Western Power Sports. So combined, I had 13 years on the distribution side. And so after being let go in May of last year, I did a lot of job searching and just couldn't seem to kind of find anything that I felt was going to fit. My wife and I had just moved back to Boise, Idaho, and we're like, we just couldn't stomach moving again. And so it was either, people wanted me to move or it just wasn't really a good fit. And so I was like, well, I'm not bringing any money right now. So I decided to go for it, had the LLC in place with Buzz Media. So it was just kind of a natural thing, had the website already. So yeah, just started, kind of going out and speaking to all my connections in the industry. And then eventually, one thing led to another, and I wrote some pieces for Meta. And then next thing you know, I've got a little bit of doing some blogs for EVS Sports, and then Giant Loop out of Oregon, been helping them with marketing. So it's just kind of that slow, snowball starts to gain momentum. And as you know all too well, it just takes time. Everything takes time when you're starting it out.
Yeah.
So,
I think I'm really intrigued by the type of marketing that you do, because I never had the patience to do what you do really well. And I think you look at your podcast as an example. I don't promote my podcast anywhere near as well as you promote yours. Like I'll throw it up on Instagram. Man, that's about it. It's like a newsletter that comes out via email. You've got blogs, you've got all this organic content, and it's a skill set to be able to coordinate. And I think that's probably the best word for it, to coordinate all of these things, because I can create a really good looking Instagram post that's a graphic that promotes, it's got your face, an episode number, and maybe an audio clip. But man, that's about it, because then I'm on to the next thing. And that's not what my company does. What my company does is paid targeted advertising. We run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads. We develop websites. We don't do media coordination and blog writing and things like that. At the very most, we'll do email marketing, but it's e-commerce driven email. With you, your email isn't something that I feel like I'm being sold. I open the email up, I get to read about the guest, I get to see, I missed last week's episode and a little bit about that guest. How can you walk me through a little bit about do you have a process, or how do you go about planning that so it's all so coordinated? It's almost like you have a team of people that are doing the PR for these things.
Yeah, it's funny, but yeah, I think that's just a case of like accumulated, knowledge, and just I've done so many of these things through my career. I'm 28 years in on this now, and I feel like I've done about every facet of marketing, through the years. And so it's just something that it's funny that you said that, because I tell people, I'm like, when I sign up with a client, I'll freely admit, like I'm probably not the best writer that you'll find out there, but I'm reliable, I'm consistent, I'm organized. I'm the guy you're going to go to when you have a deadline and you need to get it done, and I'll get it done for you. And so that's what I kind of pride myself on, is being very organized. I don't like ambiguity. Like if I send you an email before I record a podcast, I want you to be clear on it, and I want you to feel like comfortable coming into it. And so that's just part of my character, I guess. I've done a lot of those roles in the past where, like at Western Power Sports, I was in charge of coordinating all the advertising and making sure all the production was getting done. And so it's just from years of doing all that, I felt like it's made me, and being my, one dude doing everything, you got to be super organized. So that's kind of where that comes from, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk to me a little bit about your customers. Is it something that you have to really explain the need of consistent, coordinated, organized, professional-looking content, and why you need a blog and why you need consistent emails that are going out? Or is that something that they're coming to you and they're like, look, I need somebody. We heard you're a great, resource for this. What does that look like? Because I know with us, we get our business, majority of it from cold calling, right? Even though we're known in the sport, people are like, yeah, I know I need Facebook ads, but they're not calling us because they know they need something that they don't really understand. So they're not looking for it. So with us, I know we have to really sell and educate why you need us. Is that similar with what you've seen with your clients?
Yeah, really. I feel like it's either one or the other. Either the client gets it and they're coming to me saying, I believe in this content marketing, philosophy of putting out evergreen, informative, not sell, like that. That's the content marketing model. So I feel like there's one side of it that, yeah, they come to the table and they already know that. They want somebody. That was EVS in my case. Like I'd work with Taz Sabatko over there. And so, when I started doing freelance, he's like, hey, we'd love to have you write some blogs for us, a couple a month. And so that's kind of where that came from. And then the flip side of that is me, approaching other brands and then having to educate them about content marketing and the value of content marketing. And of course, that's a more difficult route, but I feel like if you can get through to that person and they have that light bulb moment where they understand, the value of content that's not just, shoving that sale down the person's throat,
Right.
sell. Once that light bulb goes off, then they're on board,
Yeah.
So most of the clients I've had so far have approached me. Luckily, I've had enough experience. And then once I get a couple clients, and then they tell someone else, and so the word of mouth thing, And so right now that seems to be my primary way. And again, to go back to the podcast, it's just another asset, another aspect of the way I can keep my name out there and hopefully get some more business out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I want to ask you about EVS here in just a second, but I want to give a shout out to a couple of the folks that support the show. Michelin bicycle tires. Everybody knows Randy Richardson. Everybody knows that they make a great product for the dirt bike, but they are actually, what most people don't know is they started as a bicycle tire. The first tire was in 1891 when the Michelin brothers patented the first detachable bead bicycle tire. Today, they're well known for the Michelin E-Wild tire, which is what we use on my EMTB race team. We compete in the GNCC series. The E-Wild tire is an awesome tire. The Michelin Force AM2, the Michelin Wild AM, even BMX tires like the Pilot SX or the Pilot SX Slick. Follow them on Instagram, Michelin Bicycle, at Michelin Bicycle on Instagram, and you can find their tires in bike shops and e-tailers, but check them out on Instagram. Also, I wanted to talk about another position that we have open at Impact. We're looking for a senior media buyer. This is somebody that coordinates ad spend dollars for clients to run, manage, and optimize Facebook ad campaigns, Instagram ad campaigns, Google campaigns. This is a position that we are aggressively looking for. So if you're interested, you can shoot me an email, luke@thinkimpact.com. You can also go to our website, thinkimpact.com, and click on the jobs tab, and I believe it's the first one there. So if that's something that interests you and you have 3 to 5 years of experience running, managing successful Facebook and Instagram ads, and you love the sport of moto, we'd love to talk to you. Dale, you said you work with EVS. Have you been doing some content around the TP199 knee pads here recently with all the talk with Ryan Hughes and Pulp and everybody blowing up, are knee braces a good thing? Are they not? And then I feel like pros have come out that they use, some pros like Barsha and I think Cantanzaro uses them, knee pads. And the TP199s are so popular that you literally cannot get them on Amazon.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, that's funny because I ended up right around that same time is when I actually wrote a piece that was, pros and cons of knee pads versus knee braces. And so cool. We definitely put that out there as sort of an evergreen piece that wasn't, advocating for one way or the other. It was just like here's the pros and cons of both. You make the choice. We have both, and so that was a fun piece. And so, yeah, EVS has been really fun because I'm doing kind of a real broad, like a diverse group of blogs each month. Sometimes I'll do product focus like that. Other times, like I did an interview with RJ Hampshire and then turned that around. So it's been really fun. Like another one of the ones is I interviewed a guy that basically crashed in his went over the bars, broke his EVS knee brace in half basically. But he's like, man, if I wouldn't have had that thing on, I don't know what would have happened. So, it's kind of like a true testimonial. So it's been really fun. Like each month I do different stuff. And so, but they're just trying to really ramp up their blog and put evergreen content out there that when people are doing their research on what to buy, hopefully they land on one of those pieces.
Talk to me about who, an ideal client. So you've mentioned EVS, and something that we see, we get an objection sometimes, and it's, hey, because we're talking about doing their Facebook, Instagram ads, and like, hey, we have a team that does that. I find it hard to believe that EVS doesn't have somebody that understands marketing. And that's, I think, a big misconception that brands get is you don't always have to have people in-house, and oftentimes things like content creation, blog writing, email marketing, paid social advertising, you can work with outside professionals like my company or like yours to be part of that team. Is that similar to EVS and other clients to where, they've got a marketing coordinator, maybe even a marketing team, but not somebody like yourself that really specializes in one or two areas, and that's why they bring you in? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think where that comes from is, like you said, everybody these days in a lot of these companies wears a lot of hats. So I think that when they say team, I think there's probably a lot of people contributing, multiple people wearing multiple hats. If you're on an event, you contribute, some social media here and there. But I think it's like where I come into play and where like your business comes into play is to kind of fill in those cracks. Maybe there's someone that's not as specialized at like blog writing, like running Facebook ads, because I feel like, we've talked about this. Those areas have become so specialized. Even on my side, like I'm having to continually learn. I'm learning a lot of SEO writing right now. Like I've always been a creative writer, and so actually I take that back. I was a technical writer too, so I've done both. But like lately, I've done a lot of creative writing. But then you kind of can easily let SEO get away from you and not take that into consideration. And so recently, I did some work for another client, Onyx Maps, which is a GPS app that you can download, and it's got off-road trails. Super rad setup. So I wrote a couple blogs for them. So it was really fun to learn the process, and they're really, really sharp on their SEO side. So it was like, all right, cool. I'm learning to kind of implement some SEO strategy in with my creative writing. And so it's been a lot of fun in that aspect of learning, but then also being able to give these brands what they're looking for and hopefully help them along the way.
I feel like people are starting to catch on because even really as little as 3 years ago, we would get a lot of misunderstanding that, my intern that we're going to hire next month, he has a Facebook account, so he can run Facebook ads. And it's a lot of, everybody has access to Facebook and Instagram ads, so anybody can do it. And it took a very long time, I feel, before people realized that just because you can access WordPress and create your own blog doesn't mean that you're a skilled blog writer and that you can write a high converting sales letter for an email, or that you can run a $1 million ad campaign. Everybody has access to a basketball, or in this sports case, anybody can go buy a YZ450, but nobody's going to be able to ride it like Aaron Plessinger or Dylan Ferrandis or Christian Craig. So I think people are starting to understand that just because we have access to these tools, that you you still need an expert. Whereas before, like, you couldn't just run an ad in RacerX. You had to buy your way in to do that. You couldn't just run a billboard ad or a TV ad. You had to buy your way in. So when everybody had these free tools in front of them, everybody kind of thought it was free advertising. And now they're realizing that professionals like yourself, I cannot write a blog the way that Dale can write a blog. Like, yes, I can write. Yes, I have access to my company blog. I am so ADD that there's no way. That's why I only do audio and video content. I cannot write. Physically, yes, I can write, but not like you. So I think people are starting to catch on to that. Have you seen, even with employers that you've worked with in the past, have you seen there being a little bit more of a desire for a professional that does something that technically anybody could do, but not do as well as a professional? Have you seen that starting to catch on, or am I just kind of off my rocker?
I mean, I think that there's a lot of companies that are specifically on the content side of the business. I feel like there's definitely a lot of brands that are starting to wake up and realize the value of it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like on that aspect of it. But, like my last job at Tucker, I mean, they really saw the value in it. And so when I was there, like I had my head down just cranking out, tons of blogs, lots of content. And so I think there's other companies like that are starting to come around. And then you have these other brands that are starting to dabble into the market, like an 805 beer, for example. Like, I'm a huge fan of their marketing. I feel like they're like a perfect example of the content marketing model of putting out videos and written content and integrating their products in a supernatural way where it doesn't feel like a sales.
Yeah.
It's fun, informative content. And so yeah, it's taking time, but I feel like there's also this term that I've been reading a lot lately. There's a guy that coined the term content marketing. Joe Polizzi, his name is, out of Cleveland, Ohio area, and he actually created the Content Marketing Institute, and he keeps pushing this content entrepreneur. That's his new kind of buzzword term. As there's right now podcasts, everything, content is just so hot that there's all these people coming up creating businesses around content creation only. And so it's kind of a wild west right now, especially like we're seeing with the podcast. Like, I mean, just starting my podcast, I had two podcast companies like approach me and want me to become part of their network. And so it's kind of like a weird time where like you got to be careful too, because after reading having a wife that works in the law field helps, because I give her the contract and she's like circles everything that I should question. So it's definitely a wild west as far as content creation is going right now.
What do you think about that? And we'll start wrapping things up here, but you kind of segued to this perfectly. I wanted to ask you about the content that is being created by athletes. And there's some that have podcasts. I know AJ Catanzaro kind of inconsistently does his podcast, but when he does it, it's always super interesting. But man, athletes have really taken a liking to Instagram, but now, man, they're stepping it up with vlogs. And it started with, the privateers. That's how they got their names out, like Jeff Walker and AJ Catanzaro, and those were kind of some of the first to do it. But now, you got Christian Craig and Troll Train's vlog, and man, what Adam Cincerillo is doing. Yeah. I've said for the last 2 years, I'm like, man, one of the big guys like Roxon or somebody, and now it's AC, needs to do a vlog because, man, I think it would be popular. And I can't wait each week for those to come out. That has to bring massive value to the team, to the sponsors. What do you think about the content creation you see the athletes doing, at least in 2021? I
think it's brilliant. I mean, I couldn't agree more, man. I think it's, to me, I almost think it's the point. I'm not saying it should be a like an expected, prerequisite of signing an athlete, but man, it sure does add value. You know what I mean? Like it's it.
I almost think it should. Like it's funny you say that. Like, I don't think you're ever going to get a Tomac or even a Savatgy to do that. But if you know that, okay, this guy's got personality, why wouldn't it be a prerequisite? There's so much value to that. It's insane.
I totally agree. Like, I feel like they're just so real. Like, it's the realest thing I feel like with our sport right now, because, like Cincerillo to me is a perfect example. The guy is just so approachable and down to earth, and you get to see a glimpse of his life, like in his motorhome. And I keep thinking about all these things like, man, is it lonely at the races now because they're so isolated? That's the kind of stuff that goes through my head when I watch these videos, because it's so real and behind the scenes. So I think, I think it's one of the coolest things I've seen in the last couple of years. There were some athletes doing it in the past that tried it, but I feel like now that these guys have come back and really pushed it hard, you got Dean Wilson, you got Jason Anderson, like all these different groups that are doing it. And so I think it's really good content right now. Some of the best stuff.
It's catching on and quick. Like, I mean, this is just like a week or two old. Have you seen that Barsha's doing his own too? And the production quality of these things, they're not vlogs. I mean, we call them vlogs, but these, like Jeff Walker makes a vlog. He vlogs himself. But these guys have full on, I mean, they have guys on payroll. Like Adam brings a guy with him. Barsha has a guy with him. And it's, dude, I think it's the most exciting thing to happen to our sport, because the most access anybody would ever get before was maybe an interview, and then if you made it into the pits. Now, like, I feel like I know Christian Craig's wife and his 2 kids, and they have no freaking idea who I am, but I feel like I know him, and I've got this emotional connection to him, and there's so much value in that to a sponsor. And I think that's moving quicker than what the sponsors understand. Like, I don't think they've caught on. I think there's still way less. It's a cheap buy, right? I think a sponsor can get a ton of value if they're like, hey, Adam, I'm going to pay for your video guy. Would love for you guys to do a vlog, and it costs them $30,000 or $20,000. And 5 years from now, I think it's going to be way different, because the amount of value that vlog brings, the riders don't really understand, and the sponsors don't understand. So I think the sponsors have an opportunity that they're not taking advantage of yet.
Yeah, and it's got that evergreen aspect where, someone can go back and catch up from the beginning, for an Adam Cincerilla blog. And I couldn't agree more. Like, if I was, still working at a company like Fly or, like one of these other gear brands, I would be like, yeah, that's money well spent. $50,000 to pay your video guy to go around.
For
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the return on that's going to be so much bigger. I feel like those videos endear that athlete to fans even better, even more. And so, yeah, I think it's just a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing about the sport, because I can't get enough of it, and it's really cool. Hey, as we kind of wrap up, tell us a little bit about the Dirt Buzz podcast, as far as who are some of the guests you've had on. What are some of the things that I feel like you and I are kind of the only two that have more of a business-oriented show. Tell the folks listening to this that maybe haven't checked your show out yet, what are some of the things you guys talk about? Who are some of the folks you've had on, and where can they listen to it at?
Yeah, really, the show is kind of like just a conversation between 2 friends is kind of how I've approached it. It's very laid back, and I do a lot of research on each person before each show, just so I have a lot of things to talk about with them. But I just let it take its natural course, and so I've been lucky enough to I've been in this industry long enough to know a lot of people, and I've had a lot of friends that have been willing to come on. Rich, like Rich Taylor from X Brand Goggles, Greg Blackwell, who used to run Parts Unlimited. So I'm finding that my guests tend to fall into that kind of peer-to-peer, business professional, people like myself, I guess, that have been around the industry a long time and that have interesting stories to tell, but not necessarily, are in the limelight all the time. And so I think that's been a really fun project to be able to, have all these different people on and share their stories. And so, yeah, you can find it pretty much any of the podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, you name it. Just search for Dirt Buzz and it'll come up. And then, or you can go to dirtbuzz.com, and I put the episodes up there every week, and you can sign up for my email newsletter. That I only send the emails when it's new episodes, nothing else. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Oh yeah, on Instagram at DirtBuzz. You can always find I post up new episodes every Sunday night is when I roll out new episodes. So yeah, appreciate everybody who's listening.
Yeah, and guys, I can't recommend enough to check it out. It's if you like this show, you'll like that show. It's not race recaps and rider interviews and stuff like that. It's what seems to be really popular right now, which is deep diving into folks in the industry. So I enjoy it. I think you guys will enjoy it too. And Dale, hopefully we get to do another sit down here sometime, and hopefully we get to run into each other in person. I think we met during COVID, so there was no chance of that happening. And now it's in the rear view, so hopefully we run into each other at an event, trade show, or a race or something like that. I would love to have a drink with you and deep dive some more.
Absolutely. I think with the AIM Expo now back on the calendar, I think that's probably going to be a next big opportunity for everybody first time for everybody to kind of get back together again here. I think that's in Las Vegas in January. So
I'm putting I'm putting a reminder on my calendar now to check that out, because I haven't even thought about live events in the last year and a half, and the AIM Expo is always that's my favorite event. So we will hopefully see each other there. And the fact that it's in Vegas is even better.
Yeah, it's good and bad Vegas. You know how it is. Like there's a lot of bleary-eyed people showing up in the morning. That's for sure.
That's right. Awesome, man. Well, hey, it's always good talking to you. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll be checking out your content and in touch soon.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate you having me on.
All right, thanks, Dale.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impact Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpact.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.